Freilich and Chanukah. This is Gemara and Taanis Daf Chof Aleph. Today's shir is sponsored Lili Nishmas Penina Abbas or of Dave Bear by a very, very close friend of Eliezer of the Daf. I believe we've been learning together almost from the start. Emir Hashem, today's learning, the learning of Chanukah, the tremendous Ayrazu Taira, the tremendous Kedusha that is generated from learning in Chanukah, should bring Penina Abbas of Dave Bear to a higher and higher place in Ganidim Shalmayla. Of course, all the learning should be as chos of Refuah Shleim of Ben B'Megil Chaim V'Sar Shalom Tzivur Nezer Bas Kanenti Tubasim As Chaysay Yisrael B'Mindel Aliyah Tzveret Shalei Shalom Mas Naomi B'Shem Figur Sheichana Shmo B'Antil and Dinam Echan Rezel Mikal Chaya Bas Mina Din Einam B'Shem Mindos Viv and Ferig Bar and Chelet Shevor and Atzel Huva Rivka Bas V'Shev and Naftali Yisviv and Echlester B'Soich Shar Chali Yisrael, as well as Eis Choshet of Yisrael Chaim and Devar Shemirim Bas Rezu Gitzol Shandal Esther Bas Shoshana Malkil Morcha Ben Avshendel Esther Gitta Bas Avshendel, as well as Shlomo Ben Libby Zahava. We pick it up in the bottom of Chaf Amid Beis. We are at the end of the fifth line from the bottom. We're middle of discussing the wonderful mailas and practices of Rav Huna. As I'm sure as many people are seeing from yesterday, some of the practices we're even able to do. Perhaps one is not able to spend his entire life and not able to not go Dalan Amos without Torah or Tefillin, but definitely one could do the other things. Try not to be angry in his house. Try to be careful with Aniyim. And as we're going to see more of these practices, we have to remind ourselves, even if you can't do all of it, these are Tanayim and Amarayim we can tap into as much as we can. So says the Gemara, Ki Have Le Milsa Da'asuta. 4 lines on the bottom explains the Gemara about Rav Huna when there was a matter about medicine. When there wasn't enough medicine for the people, Avimali Kuza Demaya, he would fill up a water jug with the medicine that people needed. Vatale Besefa Debase, and he would hang it on the door frame of his house. So wonderful chesed, the first medicine gemach. People needed medicine, they didn't have it. He would get that medicine and hang it out and say, whoever needs, come and take. Says the Gemara, some explain, you know what Rav Huna did? Milsa de Shabishta. Some explain there was something else, that with the problem by, Milsa de Shifta Avigamer. There was a problem with Shifta, which was the name of a shade of a demon, and the problem was that anyone who didn't wash their hands got attacked by this demon. So what did Rav Huna do? He filled up a jug of water and he hung it on his door. Whoever needs water to wash their hands, come, I'll give you water free of charge. Lo l'stakins, they shouldn't become a tzayikana. When they ate bread. Have a pasach lebave. Have a pasach. Kavikarach Rifta, when they, so now the Gemara has another, that's 2 examples. Number 3, Kavikarach Rifta, when they would eat bread, Avi Pasach Leveve, he would open his door, Va'amar, commanded Sarach Leisi V'lech, tell anyone who needs food, come and eat with me. Another third incredible practice. The first one was the medicine Gemach, second one was the water Gemach, and number 3 was whoever needs food, come and eat with me. Amar Rava explains, Rava, Kula Matzina Mekayim, all these I could do. Levar Me'ah, aside for the last ones, Lo Metzina Meva, there's no way I'd be able to do this last practice of Rav Huna. You know why? He says the Gemara, as we turn over to Chaval from Aleph, because there are a lot of poor people in Mechuzah and I have nothing else to eat for myself. Which we already see how the Gemara, Rava himself is commenting, maybe I can't do all of it, but I can do as much as I can. Explains the Gemara, interesting story. Ilfa Rav Yochanan Garcia Barais. Ilfa Rav Yochanan were sitting and learning Torah. The Chikulu Milsa, they had no money. Tuva, very much so. Amri, they said, let's get up and do business. As the first Chavrusa Shaf that decided to go into business together. Unekayim ben Avsham will fulfill about ourselves. Efes kilab cha'avion, that there won't be any more poor people. So Azla Asvei Tute Gudaria. They went and they sat down underneath a broken down wall as they were going out to do business. And what happened? Avakakarchi Rifta, they sat down to eat. Also Trey Malachi Asharis. 2 Malachi Asharis came. Shami Rav Yochanan heard the Mechal Chavrei. The one of the Malachim was saying to the other, Nashte Eluyeh, let's push down the wall on them. Hi Guda, this wall, let's kill them. They left the base medrash. Enough is enough. They're leaving Torah and they're going into business. The other Malach says, no, leave them. One of these 2 people, he's going to have his hour of greatness and he's going to go back and learn. Rav Yochanan Shama, Ilfa Le Shama. Rav Yochanan heard these Malachim talking, Ilfa didn't hear. But interestingly enough, Rav Yochanan didn't just hear and go. What did Rav Yochanan do? He almost gave Ilfa a final chance. Amr Rav Yochanan, Ilfa Shama Marmi, did you hear something? Amr Leilai. Ilfa said, no, I did not hear anything. Amar mideshama anos. Rabbi Yochanan said, since I heard, it must be that I'm the one that's going to have my hour. I'm supposed to go back to yeshiva. Amar le Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan says, I'm going to go back to learn, and I'm going to be mekayim myself. And I'm going to be mekayim in myself that the poor will never cease in the land. There's no way to solve the issue. There's always going to be poor people. So Rabbi Yochanan says, you know what? I'm going back to learn. Rabbi Yochanan hadar, Ilfa loy hadar. Ilfa didn't take the message to heart. Rabbi Yochanan goes back to learn. Adasa Ilfa, by the time Ilfa came back, after going out to business, Malach, Rabbi Yochanan was Malach, had a malucha. He became the Rosh Yeshiva, the Nasi Amar Loi. Iyase mar v'garis, lo have a Malach mar. And Rav Yochanan said, they told the Ilfa, if you would have went down and learned, Rav Yochanan would not have been the Rosh Yeshiva, and the Mefarshim explain what's Pshat. Ilfa was really greater than Rav Yochanan. And if he would have went back, if you, Ilfa, would have went back, you would have been the Rosh Yeshiva. Ilfa was not happy, and also tells Nafshei Be'Sikra Desvinta. Ilfa went up on the top of a boat, and he balanced himself on the mast of a ship. Amar, and he said, if anyone wants to ask me any question from all the Mishnayos of Rechim, Rav Aisha, B'lo B'shan, the law, B'masnisan, and I don't have an answer, I'll jump off and I'll drown. The first, daredevil. Ilfa is hanging up there, and he says, ask me a question. If I don't have an answer, I'm going to jump. Also, Saba, older man, came, done a lay. And someone says, I'm going to give 1 shekel to my son for each week. And he could really give a selah. Give a selah. But if he says, I'm only going to give a shekel, only give a shekel. But if I die, others will inherit. If he says that, and if he's nifter, the inheritors will inherit, then we always listen to his word. He only gets a shekel. So Ofer responds, of course, everyone knows this one. That's an easy one. That's Rameir, Damar Mitzvah Lekayim, Divri Ames, and you should listen to the mace. You have to listen to the other person, and that is the end of the story. Interesting. We don't really know from this point the end of exactly what happened to Ilfa, but that is the end of the fascinating story to Ilfa and Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Gemara 3 lines into the white lines, another perhaps more famous story. Amra Love al Nacham Mishkamzu, the famous Nacham Mishkamzu, Shesuma, Mishteinav, he was blind in 2 eyes, Gidim Mishteyadov, 2 of his hands were cut off, Kita Mishteiraglov, 2 of his legs were chopped off, Cholgufa Malishchin, his entire body was filled with boils. Vayamutav Beisuria, and he was in a rickety house, Ragli Nitas Munacham Misafli Shamayim, and the legs of his bed were in buckets of water. Why? Kadeshlo Yalu Alav Nemalim, so that the ants would not crawl over his body. One time, his house was in a rickety, his bed was in a rickety house. Picture Talmidim Lefanis Mitasai. His Talmidim requested to remove his bed. Says Caleb, and then they're going to move all his items, all his utensils. Amr Lahem Nacham Mishkamzu responded, Bini Penuas Kalim, Penuas Mitasi, and then remove the bed. Shemuftach Lachem Shekozman Shani Bebayis, Ain't a Bayis Neifel. As long as I'm here, the house is not going to fall. Penuas Kalim, Penuas Mitasi. So they got rid of the Kalim then himself. Nafal Abayis. And the house fell. Amrulai Talmidim, so Talmidim said to the Rebbe, Nachamish Gamzu, Rebbe, you're a wonderful tzaddik. Why did this happen to you? Amrulai Bini, let me tell you, Ani Karamti last, may cause this to myself. One time I was going on the road. Lebeis Chami, to my father's house. Me, and I had with me Matzoi Gimel Chamayr, and 3 donkeys laden with Echad Shal Meichel, Echad Shal Mishav, Echad Shal Minei Megadim, food, liquids, and delicacies. Pani Echad Ani came V'Amrli B'derech and stopped me on the road. V'Amrli Rabbi Parnasani, give me something to eat. Amarti Lo, I said to him, Hamtin, wait 1 moment. Achaftik Min Chamar till I unload the camel. Lo Spakti Lefrog Min Chamar, and while I didn't have chance to unload the camel, Achi Yatsan Ishmazai, till the man was nifter. He didn't realize how dire it was. And he pushed him off, and unfortunately the man was nifter. Nachamish Gamzu says, Allah, even if when I fell on his face, and I said, my eyes, and this is Nachamish Gamzu lying on top of this dead ani, and he's saying that my eyes did not have Rachmanas, that have compassion in your eyes. My eyes should be blind, says Nachamish Gamzu. Yadai, my hands, they're not have mercy in your hands, his kadmu should be cut off. Raglai, my legs, his katu should be cut off. V'lo yiskaru daitin, says Nachamish Gamzu. Gamzu. It wasn't enough. Achamarti kol gufi yemalish chim, my whole body should be full with boils. Amrulai, and the Talmidim said, Oy lanu. Sharinu bakach, woe is to us that we saw you in this terrible state. Amr lahem, said Nachmish Gamzu, Oy liam loyrain tu bakach. It would have been much worse for me if you didn't see me this way. Meaning, because he was referring to at least this way, you got a kapara in the next world to let go to Elam Haba. V'amai karle Nachmish Gamzu, says the Gemara. Why do they call him Nachmish Gamzu? You know why? Anything that happened, Amar. This is also for the good. Zimna Chada one time, brother Shadudi Yisrael during the Bekesar, and it seems from the story this was earlier in his life. They wanted to send a gift to the Caesar. Amru man Yezel, who should bring it? Yezel Nachamish Gamzu, Lech Nacham, bring the gift to the Caesar. The Maluman ben Nisim, because he always has Nisim happening. Who Shadu Biyade Mali Sifta Davanim Taivus Margalios. They send him a chest filled with diamonds and precious rubles and pearls and whatnot. Also, Basva Hudiri, he went and he slept overnight in a certain inn. Balelia night, Kamu Hanach, the Yura, Shaklinu, Lisaftu, Malu, Afra. And they robbed him, they took all the diamonds, pearls, etc. They filled up his chest with dirt. Lamach the next day, Kilzinu Amar Gam to the Taiva. Now it's a Shikol Shaila, if he knew about it, that's why they take out the Skirsa. Kimata Hasam, when he reaches the Caesar, Sharinu Lisifta, Chazunu Dwali after, he gives the Caesar a chest of dirt, they open it up and you're giving me dirt. Oh Malkalam Meklinu Lekulu. So the Caesar said, not only are we going to kill you, we're going to kill all the Jewish people. Amar Kama Chaychi Be Yudai, the Jews are laughing at us. What are you making fun of us? Says the Caesar, sending us dirt. Amar Gam Zula Taiva. Also Eliyahu, it's Malay. Anavi appears like one of the Caesar's men. How do you know this earth? Maybe this is miraculous dirt. Maybe this is dirt from Avram, their forefather, that when you throw the dirt, it becomes arrows and swords. We all know the famous story of Avram Avinu, the 4 kings, the 5 kings. You throw the dirt and it's incredible weapons. So it explains the Gemara. There was one Medina that the Caesar wasn't able to conquer. So they used this dirt to Kavshua, and they conquered it. They were so happy, and that was the wonderful miracle that happened to Nachmish Gamzu, that the dirt turns into the miraculous dirt of Avram Avinu, the power of Gamzu, the type of the power of Bitach and reliance on Hashem. But the Gemara doesn't finish there. You know what they did? They said, come into the treasure house, fill up whatever you want, Nachum. Take everything. V'shadrinu. And they sent away Bikra Rabba in great honor. So when Nachum Ishkanzu is traveling back home, he goes to that same inn. Amrulay, my says Badach. What happened to you? They're like wondering, how's he coming back so happy? We sent him with dirt. Davdulach, Yakra Kuliyai, they're giving you all this wealth. Amrulu, my Deshakla Ma'acha, Amtulasam. Nachum says simply, I took from here and I brought it there. I just did that. So what do these people do? Sasru Liderayu, they destroyed their entire dira. And they brought all the dirt, all the rubble to the Caesar. They said, here, we have the dirt also. It's the same dirt. But they tried that dirt. And the residents of that inn got killed. Fascinating story of Nachamish Gamzu. Says the Gemara, 3 lines from the bottom, a bit back into our Mishnah. We said in the Mishnah, what's a plague when there's 500 people and 3 people die one day after the next? Explains the Gemara Tanur Rabbanan. If there's 1,500 people, then 9 mesim 3 days one after another. That's also a plague. So the equation is 3 people in 3 days per 500 people. If it's 1,500 people, it's 9 people in 3 days, but not more or less days or people. 3 mesim 3 days one after another. That is a plague. Turning over to Chaval from the base. But if they died the same amount of people in 1 day or 4 days, that is not a plague. Explains the Gemara, there's a place called Durakras that had 500 people. Not like we just said, 3 mesim on 1 day. And Gazram Nachmar so he said fast. Amram Nachmar Yitzchak Kaman, who's the Olai Kiram Meir, Damarich, like the Nikos of Chayev Kiram, the Chos of Lakolshkein. Rameir, when it comes to goring, when it comes to an axe, Rameir says, if we hold them who it is 3 times in a row, certainly if it happens all at once. Arguing with our Mishnah, that's the opinion of Rameir, that if it happens all at once, it's as bad. Amalei Rav Nachman Bar Rav Chisda Rav Nachmar Yitzchak Leikamar. Lacy Gabon says the Gemara. Rav Chisda says Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, a little bit confusing. One's Bar Chisda, one's Bar Yitzchak. Come and let's go and live in a better place. So Amar Lei, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak responds, Tanina, we learned in the Mishnah. Rav Yesi Omer Loi Mekoim Shel Adam Mechabdoi El Adam Mechabed Es Mekoim Hai. It's not the place that gives you honor. You honor your place. So he says, just because this town is not such chashiv people, if I go to more chashiv people, that's not going to make me more chashiv. I'm not going anywhere. And the Gemara explains, when the Shechina was on the mountain, no one could go on the mountain. There's Kedusha when the Shechina is there, but as soon as the Shechina leaves, what does the Torah teach us? So what do we see? We see that it's not the place, but it's the people in the place. From Nachman Bar Yitzchak is teaching, when I'm here, there's chashivas. If I go to a more chashiv place, it's not going to do anything for me. V'chein Matzina Baal Hamayit explains the Gemara Shav Midbar. Shkol Zman Nato, as long as the Mishkan was up, that is, no one Tamei could be there, because again, the Mishkan being here, that gives the kedusha. Hoglu aproiches, they rolled the proiches of the Mishkan. Hotru Zavinam Zerayim Likanei Sham. Anyone is able to go there. Again, the kedusha is due to the Mishkan being there, and not because of the place itself. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak decided he's not going, but Rav Nachman Bar Chisda said, let me tell you something else. Amar Lei so I'm going to come live by you. Amar lei mutav yavai mana ben pras. It's a mana ben mana. Val yava mana ben mana. It's a mana ben pras. The analogy of the mana ben mana obviously refers to someone whose father was a Talmid Chacham. The simple math Rashi here explains, mana is 100 dinar, pras is half. So what did Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak say? What am I? I'm mana ben pras, because my father's not as great as your father, Rav Chisda. And the simple proof is that if you saw in the Gemara, it was interesting. It was Rav Nachman Bar Rav Chisda and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. So Rav Chisda was obviously greater than Yitzchak. Says the Gemara, once we're on the topic of Sadiqim, B'Surah Havis Teberta B'Shavitza Derav, in Surah, there was a plague in the city of Rav, Shavusa the Rav, but in the neighborhood of Rav, where Rav lived, there was no plague. So Savru, what do the people think? Rav lives there, that's why there's no plague. The Nafish, because the Schusim of Rav is great. But they saw in a dream, Rav, the Nafish Chutei, Tuva. Rav is so many schosim, a simple plague. That's not in the merit of Rav. Ella mishamahu gaver the shaval marav is avilo lekfura. You know why? Because it's a person who lent out his show and his hoe for people to do burials. So why did the plague not come? Not because of Rav. Rav himself would for sure have stopped the plague, but it's not the reason. Says the Gemara, you know what the reason is? The reason is because someone did a simple chesed to lend out his shovel. And now we see a similar story. But Derukar as Havi Deleka, and Derukar is a city, there was a fire, but said to Rav Huna, Lavis Deleka. And the neighbor Rav Huna, there wasn't a fire. Savamine, they thought it was Rav Huna's, because Rav Huna did not fish, there was a lot of schusim. It's Chazlu Bechalma, they saw in a tree, Hai Zutra Leila Rav Huna. Rav Huna is too great for this. There was a woman, the Mechamas Tanura, she would hear her oven, and what would she do? She would allow everyone else to use her oven. So again, another simple chesed that she allowed people to use her oven, and that's the reason why the fire did not go into that neighborhood. Continues the Gemara, Amar Alei, the Rav Yehuda Asu Kamsa, the locusts have come, Gazer Taanis, so we have to make a fast day. Amar Alei, Lokama fastam, but the locusts aren't eating anything. Amar Alei, Zavda Asu Badayu. Did the locusts bring some food with them? Of course not, eventually they're going to eat. And another story, Amar Alei, the Rav Yehuda, they said to Rav Yehuda, we're about 20 lines to the bottom, first one line is Amar, they said to Rav Yehuda, Ika Musna Bechaziri. He said that there's a plague amongst the Chazirim, the pigs, Gazer Taanisa, boom, he made a fast day. Says the Gemara, why do you make a fast day? Is it because that once there's a mark in 1 minute, it travels to another min, so we have to be careful it's by the pigs, it's going to get to the humans? Says the Gemara, no. That the digestive systems of the pigs are similar to the humans, and of course we know this scientifically nowadays, not that the Gemara needs our proof. When people do dissections, they do it on pigs, so the same digestive system as humans. So that's why he made a fast day, because if the pigs have an issue, it could get to the humans as well. Says the Gemara, Amr Leil Shmuel, they said to Shmuel, Ika Musna Bechayzai, they said to Shmuel, there's a deadly plague in a place called Bechayzai, Gazer Taanisa. Amr Leiv, Amerchik, it's very far away. Amr says Shmuel, Leka Ma'avra. Says Shmuel, Lekam Rava Hacha, the pasuk lay. There's no bridge to stop it. So you're right, it's far away, but it's going to spread right away, and therefore we have to decree a fast right away. Amar le Rav Nachman, Mostabar Yisrael. There's a fast in Eretz Yisrael. Gazuz Taanis Amar Em Gevira Leika Shivcha Lekoshkein. He said that if the Gevira, if the mistress gets hit, certainly the Shivcha. So if there's a problem in Eretz Yisrael, certainly it's going to get everywhere else. Explains the Gemara. Time of the Gevira v'Shivcha. Ha Shivcha v'Shivcha. Let's say just two different cities. Loi. Then we would not necessarily decree a fast from one place to the next. Ask the Gemara, but what about the previous story that when they told Shmuel there's a problem in Beit Chayzah, he made a fast in the neighboring city? But that's like two shivchas, two simple cities. Answers the Gemara, because there were caravans, there was boats that carried things back and forth that people traveled with, and therefore that's the reason why you had to be careful, even not. So what we're seeing over here is that when there's a plague in one area, we have to be nervous it's going to spread. If maybe there's a way to stop it, that's one thing, but if not, we always have to be concerned. And we'll conclude the day with one story on a high note. Abba Omna would get shalom from heaven every single day. Abaye would get a shalom from heaven once a week. Once a year on Yom Kippur. Abaye felt bad. I only get shalom from heaven once a week. Abba Omna gets every day. He says, I would not be, they said to Abaya, you can't do as great as Abba Omna. What he does, Abba Omna was a doctor. It's greater than you, Abaya. What Abba Omna do? Says the Gemara, lines to the bottom. Whenever Abba Omna would do something, he would separate the men and the women in two separate areas. They're so careful one has to be about tznius, about mixtures of men and women. And now, number two, Abba Omna did. Visle Levushi had a certain shirt. This Bekarna used to let blood, so it had some sort of horn in the shirt. That was bezia bekesilta, and had a little slit that they could put the lancet inside. When a woman would come, she would put on this shirt, and he would have this cup inside and be able to go through and let the blood without actually seeing it undressing the woman. You didn't have to look at her. And number three, he had a private place that he put in money. The shakel, that's who you played. The shakel, the islay shadi bay. Someone who had money would pay to that place. The lastly, lo michsav wouldn't be embarrassed. So he would say, put your payments in the envelope. If you have money, you paid. If you didn't have money, it was free of charge. When we have a Talmud Chacham there, he didn't take wages. Not only did he not charge them, he would say, go, take yourself a coin from the envelope. Go and buy yourself, get yourself healthy. The wonderful practices of Abba Omna, the doctor, he got men and women separately. He was careful with sneeze not to look at women. And the tremendous chesed that he did, that he would let people not pay who did not have money. Tamil Chacham would get it free of charge and get money afterwards. And that's what merited Abba Omna to have shalom from heaven every single day, even more than the Heilige Abaya. We'll pick it up from Yom Echad in the next year in Mirza Hashem.